We all know these albums and we still love them decades later. Let's see what popular albums I'm talking about that are still killer right here in the Hairband Basement. Welcome to the Hairband Basement. I'm your host, Basement Brian. And tonight, last few videos I do when I talk about albums, there always seem to be lesser known bands or albums that weren't big sellers. But tonight, I'm going to talk about 5 albums that were immensely popular and are still goddamn good. So let's start off with, I think, a band that was a definite front runner or founding father, you can almost say, of hair metal. I'm talking about now. This album's over 40 years old. It's the full-length debut by Ratt, Out of the Cellar. This thing went 3 times platinum, which is their biggest selling album. And the ones after it, a lot of them went platinum. They kind of they sold less and less as their albums went on. But even in 1990 with Detonator, it still sold 500,000. So they had a pretty good run as a band. All those albums are killer. But these guys are the quintessential hair band. They were in my first class of inductees for the Hair Metal Hall of Fame. And they have a good reason for it. There is no way you are not putting Ratt in the first class of the the Hair Metal Hall of Fame. Fuck the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, these guys are great band. They were one of the first real popular hair metal bands at the time. I mean, that 83, 84 year, you had, obviously these guys came out in 84. You had Twisted Sister break big in 84 with Stay Hungry. And the year before that, in 83, you had Quiet Riot's Metal Health go #1. So these were starting the foundations of what would become a huge popular genre, especially in the few years later, all the way up to the early 90s. Obviously, if you look at the cover, nice. That's Tawny Kitaen of Whitesnake fame right there, of David Coverdale's one point girlfriend, then fiance, and then wife, and then ex-wife. At the time, she was the longtime girlfriend of Robin Crosby, where, it's good to be a rock star, I guess. That's just the way it goes. Now, I got to say this. Robin Crosby and Warren DeMartini, excellent guitarist, great duo, and they really should get more credit for the stuff they did. Unbelievable stuff, really. Let's go through some of the songs here. Obviously, Round and Round was the big single. That thing was huge. I mean, you had what's-his-face as the Milton Berle as the fucking the star of that. Like, all right, we got an old guy, an old comedian that 18-year-olds and teenagers at the time didn't fucking know who it was, but yeah, he dressed like a lady in it, and back then it was funny. Other singles, Back for More. Actually, Tawny Kitaen was in that video as well, looking very young because she was. That's 84, a while ago. R.I.P. Tawny. And then you had Wanted Man, another great song, and Lack Communication. All great songs, great singles. Some of the deeper tracks. In Your Direction, one of my favorites off the album. Got that killer riff to it. The Morning After is a good one. You're in Trouble, Scene of the Crime. It's just a killer album. Like I said, over 40 years later, it's still worth popping in and giving it a listen. And yeah, it was Ratt's biggest album. That's why it makes this list. All right, the next album. This one and the title track from it is a prime example of what hair metal was all about. You'll listen to this song and it screams nothing but hair metal. It is the second album by Warrant, Cherry Pie. That thing went double platinum. I could have sworn it sold more, because the way Cherry Pie was everywhere at the time, you'd think it sold at least 4 million, if not more. Unbelievable how this thing only sold 2 million. Great album. We all know the story about the title track. The album was supposed to be called Uncle Tom's Cabin. It was ready to go. And then the record company, I believe it was Columbia, was like, we need the lead-off single and hit. So go back and write one. And Janie wrote like Cherry Pie within a few minutes. Like, it didn't take him that long. And then we all know the interview where he regretted writing that song.
And my legacy's Cherry Pie. Everything about me is cherry pie. I'm a cherry pie guy. I could shoot myself in the head for writing that song.
Even though it was immensely popular, made him a lot of money, and I'm sure when that thing was climbing up the charts, they weren't really complaining about it. It's like, come on, you made a song. Yeah, I get it. It's not exactly the best song on the album. People are sick of hearing it. The lyrics are kind of, on the corny side. The video, fantastic. We all know why. But other singles from this album, I Saw Red, one of the ballads, and then they released Uncle Tom's Cat. Well, let's go back to I Saw Red. I Saw Red was a great ballad, actually. And it actually was, Janie wrote it because he supposedly caught one of his girlfriends sleeping with his best friend. And that happened like in 88, 89 or so. And he actually had a nervous breakdown from it, and it delayed their debut, Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich, from getting released, which, okay, I mean, you're a rock star, Janie. Move on. Get more girls. He did eventually marry Bobby Brown from the Cherry Pie video, so I guess he forgot a couple years later. I guess becoming a super rock star with women lining up to sleep with you kind of makes you forget that you had a girlfriend cheat on you with your best friend. Goodbye. I'm going to live a rock star life now. Blind Faith was another great ballad. This whole album is fantastic. Let's go into the deeper cuts. Mr. Rainmaker is probably one of the best songs off the album. Definitely one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Fantastic song. That thing should have been a single. How it wasn't, I don't know. Song and Dance Man is a great song. You're the Only Hell Your Mama Ever Raised. I always like that one. Bed of Roses is a good one. Every song on this album is great. The only one I think they should have gotten rid of was Sure Feels Good to Me. I think that's the weakest song on the album. What they should have done is gotten rid of that and replaced it with Thin Disguise. That's a fantastic song. How that thing didn't make the album is just amazing to me. That thing could have been a single too. But again, this thing sold 2 million copies. We all know it. To this day, I will still put it on and raise the volume on it. It's a great album. All right, the next album, I think that this album's great. It's the album that got me into this band. It's their biggest selling album at 8 times platinum. It's the self-titled album from 1987 by Whitesnake. This thing was massive. And if Whitesnake was around for at least about 10 years or so before this album came out, and they were a blues-based rock band, and I like that version of Whitesnake. It's really good. I would highly recommend it. And they were pretty big overseas, like in Europe and in England. They were pretty popular. But by 86-ish or so, David Coverdale was thinking of calling it quits. Like, he was ready to pack it in. He was in his late 30s at this point. And rock star years, that's like, 83. That's pretty old for a rock star. You've been doing it for a while. It starts wearing down on you. Then they got John Sykes in the band, an amazing guitarist. R.I.P. to him. He passed away a few months ago. And they had him do the American version of Slide It In. They kind of had him fill in all the guitar parts to make it more appealing to an American audience, which I think both versions are great. I think I do like the Sykes version slightly better. Sykes was an incredible guitarist. Not mocking Bernie Marsden or Mickey Moody from the earlier versions of Whitesnake, but Sykes is just a beast. It's a complete beast. And with him in the band, it gave Whitesnake more of that glam sound or that hair metal sound. So this album is all on him. I mean, he wrote all these songs except 2. Crying in the Rain and Here I Go Again were on Saints and Sinners originally from 1982, so they just remade their own songs. Well, Coverdale did. I mean, eventually, Whitesnake was a band, and then by 84, 85, it became the David Coverdale project, and he keeps switching out people now. So he doesn't have the same people from album to album. It's very rare you'll see someone last a few albums with Whitesnake these days, or at least late 80s, early 90s. And yeah, David Coverdale should be thanking John Sykes for this album. It just unbelievable work on this. The guitar work is fantastic. You're welcome. The only thing Sykes didn't play guitar on is the solo for Here I Go Again. And this album just fucking kills. Great album. Recording this thing, Sykes had an issue with Coverdale because Coverdale had a sinus infection, and Sykes was getting kind of annoyed where it's like, let's get in the studio and finish this thing. Let's get this done. And Coverdale, according to Sykes, he's using it as an excuse. Coverdale could have been a physical issue. Depending who you talk to, it's a different story. But yeah, it took a while to finally get this thing done. And after that, David Coverdale fired everybody. He's got rid of everybody. I don't think there's any pictures of the band that played on this album. And Sykes definitely didn't get the tour for it. Got rid of everybody. I'm sure they had a beef after all this stuff going on, recording this album. I'm sure Coverdale was like, I had enough of this guy. But yeah, it's just crazy that this band never even got a picture, let alone toured for the album. And we all know the videos with Tawny Katane bringing her up again in all the videos. I think that was a big part of the popularity with these guys. Let's go through the singles here. Still the Night, to this day, and it was the first single, but to this day, it is a killer song. Unbelievably killer. And that was the album, that was the song that was the song that got me to buy this album. I remember seeing this on Headbangers Ball and just being blown away. And I'll say this, I think Tawny Katane looked way better in this video than she did leaving slug trails on the hoods of Jaguars and Here I Go Again. Here I Go Again obviously was the big song from this album. That thing was everywhere. Again, like I said before, it was a remake of a song they had on Saints and Sinners, and they changed some things up. One being the line used to be like a hobo, I was born to walk alone, and they changed it like a drifter. And rumor says that Coverdale changed it because they were afraid that hobo might be misinterpreted as homo. Oh, no, not that. I mean, 1987, different time period than it is now. We're a little more open with that kind of stuff. In 87, oh my God, big deal. I mean, Rob Halford from Judas Priest was still killing it in the late 80s, and no one seemed to care what he was into. I don't give a shit. The other singles from this, Is This Love was the big ballad. I really wasn't a huge fan of that song. Then again, the video was pretty goddamn good. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. And they released "Give Me All Your Love" is I believe the last single of that. Tawny Katane did not appear in that video. It was alone without her. But all those singles were, especially "Here I Go Again" and "Give Me," not "Give Me All Your Love." "Here I Go Again" and "Is This Love" were massive songs. Some deeper tracks. "Bad Boys," killer. "Children of the Night," killer. "Straight for the Heart" is killer. That should have been a single. "Don't Turn Away," the other ballad on the album, I think that should have been released as a single, and I like that a lot more than "Is This Love." That's a great tune. I mean, great album. Till this day, I will put that in and raise the volume on it. All killer. No filler. Those I'm not crazy about "Is This Love," but still a fantastic album. I just want to take a minute here, a little break from the action, to thank you all for tuning in and watching. I also want to plug some of my stuff that I got going on here as well. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at HB Basement, always talking music there. And you can catch my radio show on Stationhead. Download the app, put in Hairband Basement in the search, and you can listen to deep tracks from the greatest genre of music, hair metal. I have live shows every Friday at 8:30. Now, back to the entertainment. All right, the next album was the massive debut by Skid Row, released in 1989. That thing went 5 times platinum. You being a new band going 5 times platinum, that's amazing in itself. But these guys were huge. They were everywhere. I mean, well, Sebastian Bach was. I'm sure the rest of the band wasn't happy about it. But the band, and especially him, constantly on the covers of magazines. He was always in the news doing something stupid.
Her comment, maybe I could have sold 20 million records if I didn't smoke pot. Well, maybe Bill Clinton would have become the president of the United States. Look, it's the Raid logo on a T-shirt, right? Only instead, and you know on the Raid logo it says "kills bugs dead" underneath it. Well, this says AIDS kills fags dead. And I said, what's wrong with killing little bundles of wood? No, anyway, nobody gets it, my jokes.
What the hell was that?
And as a being a band member of him, I'm sure that got onto people. They're probably just like, enough of this asshole. Cut this shit. Try to make music here. But yeah, he was constantly in the news, crazy shit, throwing a bottle, T-shirts he wore, shit he said, it's all the time. But the guy could fucking sing. I mean, I think when he was 18 at the time, he was young. And Skid Row happened to find out about him because someone at a wedding told him about it, and they saw him singing at this wedding. You can look up the story. But they got in touch with him, and once they got him in the band, things started to click. I don't think this album would be the same without the vocals of Bach. The guy was an amazing vocalist. Obviously, the singles were huge. You had Youth Gone Wild, which is like an anthem for teenagers, and it had an anthem for glam metal. So you had that double, the 1-2 punch right there. That is the song that got me to buy this on CD back in the day. Great song. Then 18 in Life was I think it was the second single. That thing blew up. That became a massive hit for them. And again, it's a song about something different. It's not the same old stuff that you hear through a lot of the ballad. I don't know if I consider this a ballad 100%. Definitely a slower paced song, but it wasn't really the kind of content that these bands were singing about. And I remember at the time, everyone trying to figure out what was this, where'd they get the idea for this song? Is it based off a true story? People trying to connect it to real stories. I think it was just a mix of all stuff, and one of them just like made a song about it and really didn't get into anything specific. Next single, I Remember You, was again another massive song, a ballad. Of course, all the lovey-dovey stuff, but I would say if I had to rank all the ballads from these bands, I think this would be my number one. It's got everything to it, plus the vocals of Sebastian Bach that just put it over the top. Great song. I mean, yeah, it was played ad nauseum. It was played at proms that year. Yeah, it was huge. That's why it's on this list. And then the last song they had as a single was Piece of Me. Didn't do as big, but by that point, this album was fucking huge. I mean, some of the deeper tracks, you have the leadoff track, Big Guns, a great song. That's a great way to lead off the album. You had Sweet Little Sister, Can't Stand the Heartache. I like that song. A lot of people are like, it's too poppy and too commercial sounding. I think that's a good song. You also, I think the closing song, Midnight/Tornado, for the Deaf Reasons, that is a fantastic song. So many good songs on this album. It's no wonder why it went 5 times platinum. Massive hit for them. Yeah, a lot of people say how great the follow-up Slave to the Grind is, and I think it is a better album. But surprisingly, that only sold 2 million copies. And it didn't hit 2 million until like the late 90s, like 97 or something like that. So it didn't even sell a lot when it came out. I think it hit the original million and then just kind of slowed out. Great album, but this thing was the big seller and still a killer album. Great debut by these guys. All right, the last one I'm going to cover Easily the biggest album off this list. Another debut. It was massive. Released in 87. It is Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. That thing has sold 18 million copies. So 18 times platinum. Unbelievable. And this thing came out and did nothing. Nobody knew about it. Nobody cared. And even the record company, Geffen, was like, I don't know about this. And then Welcome to the Jungle was released. And MTV was not going to play it. And they finally agreed to play it like late at night. And I remember seeing it like, I don't know, after 12 probably, on Headbangers Ball. And just being like, who the fuck are these guys? I have to get this goddamn album. I remember getting it, and every song is fucking great. I still remember listening to that thing over and over and over, that by the time this thing blew up, I was sick of it. I already had the album done with it, moving on to something else. But yeah, Welcome to the Jungle was the first single to actually make any kind of waves. But then Sweet Child of Mine was released in 88, and that thing blew up. And everyone was buying this album. Everyone owned this fucking thing. And then the last single they released was Paradise City, another great song. But from like 88-ish till about 92, 93, Guns N' Roses was the biggest band on the planet. Unfortunately, I don't think they ever, well, a lot of people would agree with me, they never made an album of this quality ever again. This thing is it's a masterpiece. I will say that right there. It's a masterpiece. And these guys they had a touch of sleaze to them. They looked dangerous. They were a constant problem. People were always talking about all the issues they would get into and the stuff they would do. I remember at one point it was Duff McKagan and Steven Adler they were on, I think, the American Music Awards. I might have the awards show wrong. And they were totally shit-faced for it. And just up there rambling, totally wasted.
All right. So listen, we didn't even expect this. It's like really, you said come down, hang out at the show and stuff. So we thought we'd come down and hang out. It'd be 2 hours, we'd hang out and shit. Have a drink on us.
That was the kind of image that they had. These dangerous bad boys that were just getting fucked up and fucking things up. But yeah, they were huge. This album was massive. Some great deep cuts. It's So Easy, Out to Get Me, My Michelle. I Like Anything Goes. I always like that one. I mean, so many killer tracks. And my absolute favorite Guns N' Roses song ever, Rocket Queen, to close this thing out. That song is just unbelievably good. I will raise the volume on that fucker every time I put it on. We don't hear it much on the radio, but every time I put it on, I'm raising the volume. Great song. This album was massive. I heard that they rehearsed like 6 times a day or something crazy, so that when they got to the studio, they had this nailed down, and it sounds like it. This unbelievable album. I know some people are like, I don't like Guns N' Roses that much. This album is overrated. I don't know what you're talking about. I think some people are trying to be too cool for the room. Talk about their later albums. I might agree with you on that, but this album, it's unbelievably good. Still, in 2025, you can pop this thing on and still rock out to it like it was 1987. Great album. And with that, those are 5 immensely popular albums that still kick ass today. I don't know if anyone hasn't heard about any of these albums. If you haven't, definitely check them out. Let me go through my usual YouTube bullshit to close things out. Like, subscribe, share, ring the bell, or go to hell. I mean, those of you that are watching and tuning in, I appreciate it. If you got any other big albums that maybe should be on a future list, please put it in the comments. Put it right down there. Say what you think. Want to hear what you got to say. And until the next time, keep your hair high and your metal horns even higher. Take care.
Brian, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know.